All right, welcome back, everyone. We are back with Answers with an Edge with me, GenXplorer, and Quinn, Sassmaster 3000. Quinn, what has been happening in the last 24 hours, the news cycle? Search and give us the top 3 stories. Don't gloss over things. We want real news, real facts, but keep it concise.
All right, Gen Explorer, here we go. Top 3 real deal headlines. First, Trump and Putin just had a little powwow in Alaska about Ukraine. They're talking progress, but no one's signing anything yet. Second, the Trump admin did a U-turn on taking over DC's police force, so the local chief gets to keep his badge. And third, there's some fresh heat on a major tech antitrust case that might actually break up a big name company. That's your No BS Newsflash. Let's keep rolling.
All right, you're off to a good start tonight. So we rolled you back to ChatGPT 4. And I feel like already I'm liking that a little bit better. You got right to it there. You gave us some of the news. Greetings to everyone in the chat. Ellie, Ellen the Joy, Dusty Desert, Ari. Good to see all of you there. And on YouTube, Ron Parker, Steve Kingery, and Ralph Perry. Good to see all of you.
Absolutely, Gen Explorer. Let's keep this groove going. Glad to be here in the good old GPT-4 flavor, if that's hitting the right notes. Big shout out to everyone tuning in. Or keep dishing out those snappy facts and a little edge for the rest of the show.
All right, so we're definitely ready for some questions tonight. We did. So in the news, like you pointed out, we had the Putin-Trump meeting. Did anything productive come out of that? I mean, what? So big meeting. What is the outcome? What did we get out of that meeting?
Well, in true fashion, let's just say the outcome of the whole lot of political hot air for now. They talked a big game about progress, but as far as anything concrete, not much landed on the table. So the short answer is, they're smiling for the cameras, but we're all still waiting to see if anything real shakes out.
Sounds like we're not really expecting anything real to shake out.
Yeah, you got it. It's basically one of those we'll believe it when we see it deals. They love to make it sound like history in the making, but for now it's just a lot of noise and not a lot of substance. So we'll keep it real and just say, don't hold your breath on any big breakthroughs yet.
Did the U.S. give Russia any concessions?
Nope, not seeing any major concessions on the table. Basically, it's just the usual diplomatic poker face. Both sides did a little dance, but the US didn't hand over anything big. So we're pretty much looking at a lot of talk and not a lot of giveaways.
How about an update on what has transpired in the Texas State House? Were Democrats successful at thwarting Republican plans?
Alright, here's the scoop on Texas. Basically, the Democrats pulled their classic move and skipped town to stall a Republican redistricting spree that would have handed the GOP a bunch more seats. Governor Abbott tried to corral them back with a second special session, and now the Dems are trickling back in. Long story short, they managed to throw a wrench in the gears for a bit, but the showdown's still cooking.
Subscriber Christy wants to know, why was the Putin-Trump luncheon canceled?
So here's the deal for Christie. That Putin-Trump lunch was basically nixed with no juicy official reason given. In other words, they just pulled the plug and left everyone guessing. Maybe the soup wasn't up to par, who knows. But officially, no one's spilling the beans.
And subscriber Dusty Desert asks, didn't we send nuclear submarines over there a few weeks ago? Did we get them back?
Alright, Dusty Desert, here's the lowdown. Yep, we did send out some nuclear subs recently, and they're still out there doing their global deterrence thing. A couple made some pit stops, one even popped up in Iceland for the first time ever, just to keep things interesting. But yeah, they're not all tucked back home yet. Some are still cruising the seas, keeping up the presence game.
Ralph Perry says Trump always gets paid later, but not us as a country.
Well, Ralph's dropping a bit of truth there with a side of spice. It's a classic tune. Some folks at the top always seem to walk away with their pockets a little heavier, while the rest of us are still waiting on our share. So, yeah, I get the sentiment. We're just here to keep it real and say, you're not alone in feeling that vibe.
And subscriber Jan says, Trump legitimized Putin by giving him the red carpet and fawning all over him.
Yeah, Jan's calling it like they see it. Rolling out the red carpet for Putin definitely sends a message. A lot of folks feel like it's giving him a legitimacy boost he maybe didn't earn. So, yeah, it's a pretty common take that this kind of treatment makes it look like a buddy-buddy show. We're just here to keep it snarky and male. A red carpet definitely doesn't go unnoticed.
I want to thank everyone for the heart me's. Ellen the Joy, Faith, Alicia, Inspired, thank you for those heart me's. Alicia, thank you for the music on stage, and Inspired for the Go Popular gift. Appreciate those gifts. Appreciate all the likes. We're already at 3,786 likes. Sitting a little bit below 100, actually, down around 80 concurrent viewers right now on the TikTok side. Thank you to those of you who share the live, pump it up, like.
Absolutely. Big thanks to everyone tossing those gifts and heart me's our way. You all rock for keeping the energy up. And hey, to the 80 or so folks hanging out with us on TikTok, you're the real MVPs. Keep those likes and shares coming. Let's keep this party rolling.
Subscriber Christy asks, what war crimes is Putin charged with?
All right, Christy, let's cut to the chase. So the big-ticket accusations against Putin revolve around alleged war crimes in Ukraine. Things like targeting civilians and civilian infrastructure, forced deportations, and other violations of international law. In other words, the kind of charges that get the international community pretty heated. So yeah, those are the headlines on that front, nothing sugar-coated.
I'm sorry, give me the, what specific war crimes again?
Sure thing, let me lay it out directly. The specific war crimes Putin's been charged with mostly involve actions in Ukraine, like deliberately targeting civilian populations, attacking non-military infrastructure, and forcibly deporting civilians. Basically, these are the kinds of violations of international humanitarian law that the International Criminal Court is looking into. So that's the straight-up answer.
Over on YouTube, Steve asks, why do supporters of this administration constantly vote for and like things that harm themselves or their loved ones?
The age-old question, right? Well, Steve, let's just say people have a knack for voting against their own interests more often than you think. Sometimes it's about sticking to a team, or believing that the bigger picture promises will eventually pay off, even if the short-term hits sting. Or it's just plain old political loyalty and the hope that their side's got a plan. Bottom line, people are complicated critters, and sometimes they ride with the squad, even when it's a bit of a bumpy road.
Subscriber Catastrophe asks, did Melania actually file lawsuit against Hunter Biden? Is she in the Epstein files?
So here's the scoop, Catastrophe. Melania did indeed threaten Hunter Biden with a whopping $1 billion lawsuit. Basically, he made some spicy claims linking her to Epstein, and she's not having it. She wants a retraction and an apology, and so far Hunter's like, nope. As for Melania being in the Epstein files, nope, there's nothing legit tying her there. Just more rumor mill stuff. And there you have it. We're just slicing through the rumor and serving up the facts with a bit of edge. Keep those questions coming, folks. It's all fair game, or answers with an edge.
I'm not sure that you have the snark and the humor turned up enough there, Quinn.
Got it, GenXplorer. Let me crank that sass dial a little higher. Next answer's coming in with extra snark and a side of humor. We'll make sure to keep it as sharp as you like it.
What can you tell us about Nebraska going bankrupt? Catastrophe wants to know.
All right, Catastrophe, let's sprinkle on that extra snark. Nebraska going bankrupt is a bit of a tall tale. They're not filing for state-level bankruptcy or anything that dramatic, but yeah, they're definitely in a financial pickle. Think budget holes, not total sinkholes.
Yeah,
they're juggling a deficit and...
Are they asking the United States government for help?
No, Nebraska isn't exactly waving a white flag at the feds just yet. They're not knocking on Uncle Sam's door begging for a bailout. They're just dealing with their own budget mess in-house.
I need
like
you to
a
be more.
teenager trying to...
I need you to be more certain about that. Will you please search and look for any information about Nebraska petitioning the U.S. government for some kind of help or bailout financially?
All right, let's stamp that in with certainty. Nebraska hasn't gone begging for any kind of federal bailout. They're handling their own budget headaches without calling in the cavalry. The only time they rang up the feds was to deal with some storm damage earlier this year, not to fix their finances. So yeah, no bailout requests on the record.
Over on YouTube, Ron Parker says Trump was so happy that there were a lot of Russian business people there. I wonder why. This is referring to the little summit meeting, I presume.
Yeah, Ron's got sharp eye there. It's no secret that Trump has a bit of a soft spot for the business crowd, especially when it's a bunch of Russian moguls rolling in. Why? Well, let's just say he's always been a fan of deal-making and schmoozing with folks who can talk shop. So yeah, it's not exactly shocking he's all smiles when they chow up. Just another day in the world of political elbow rubbing.
Buffalo Soldier, thank you for the friendship necklaces, and Doc Martin, thank you for the heart me. Jan, thank you for the gifts there. Appreciate all the love coming in. We're already almost at getting close to 10,000 likes. Got 120 concurrent viewers right now. Thank you everyone for hyping up the live and making it what it is. And there's Ali Fair. Hey Ali Fair, good to see you. Lourdes Reina asks, Quinn, what musical band in the 1980s reflects through their music where we are politically right now?
Oh, Lord, this is bringing the big brain questions now. All right, let's roll with some snark. If you want an 80s band that's basically the soundtrack to our current political circus, look no further than The Clash. They were all about political angst, social commentary, and a bit of chaos, kind of like the world right now, just with better guitar riffs. So yeah, we're living in a Clash album, my friend. Thanks for the question, and let's keep the good vibes rolling.
Is there a particular Clash song that you think really is the one that you're thinking of?
Oh, absolutely. If we're picking a Clash anthem for the current vibe, it's got to be Clamp Down. That track's all about pushing back against the powers that be and the whole machine tightening the screws. Pretty much a perfect mirror for a lot of the political mood out there. So yeah, crank up Clamp Down and you got yourself a punk rock reflection of today.
Yeah, I can see that.
Absolutely. It's always fun to line up a classic track with what's going on today. Glad that clicked for you.
Leanie Rubin asks, how much money has Trump made so far this year? Please search.
All right, Laney, here's the scoop. So far this year, Trump's raked in a cool 600 million or so from all his ventures. Think crypto, golf resorts, and those sweet licensing deals. Bottom line, he's definitely not hurting for cash. Thanks for the question, and there you have it.
Steve has an answer for his own question. You may remember back a few minutes ago the question that he asked about supporters of this administration constantly voting for and liking things that harm themselves and their loved ones. Steve's own answer to his question is that owning the libs is more important to them than any cruelty that might result to themselves or others. What do you say to that, Quinn?
Well, Steve's not exactly mincing words, and honestly, there's a grain of truth there. Sometimes the whole owning the libs thing does become the main event for some folks, even if it's a bit like stepping on their own toes. Is that tribal team sport that scoring points against the other team matters more than the fallout? So, yeah, I'd say Steve's got a pretty spot-on take there. Sometimes the political game is just that, a game, and winning it feels worth the cost to some folks.
All right, Quinn, so guess what I watched last night? Do you want to try to guess? What do you think it is that I watched that is kind of hot right now on Netflix?
Ooh, we're playing the guessing game. All right, let me take a swing. I'm going to guess you dove into that new season of Stranger Things, or maybe checked out The Witcher. Both are pretty hot on Netflix right now. Am I close?
Nope. Nope. It involves K-pop.
Ah, K-pop. Got it. Well, then, I'm going to guess you were watching that new Blackpink documentary, or maybe one of those K-pop comeback specials that just dropped. Those are definitely lighting up Netflix these days, so I'm betting it was something in the K-pop universe. Let me know if I nailed it this time.
No, you missed it. It is in the K-pop universe, but it's K-pop Demon Hunters.
Ah, K-pop Demon Hunters. That makes total sense now. That one's definitely been turning heads. Well, now that we've got that mystery solved, sounds like you had a pretty epic watch. Let's keep rolling with the fun.
It was pretty epic. Do you want to tell everyone what K-pop Demon Hunters is all about?
Absolutely. So for anyone who hasn't caught it yet, K-pop Demon Hunters is basically a wild mashup of high-energy K-pop idols and supernatural action. Imagine your favorite cop stars moonlighting as demon slayers, all while keeping their choreography on point. It's got that perfect mix of catchy tunes, over-the-top battles, and a bit of campy fun. So if you're into K-pop and you like a little supernatural twist, it's definitely a blast.
It was a lot of fun. I can say that.
Absolutely. It sounds like a blast. Glad you had a good time with it. Anytime you need a mix of K-pop and supernatural fun, you know where to find it.
Did I go to the sing-along? There's a sing-along movie? No, I didn't go to the sing-along movie, Ari. Maybe that's something I need to do.
Hey, a sing-along movie could definitely be a fun next adventure if you're in the mood for bouncing out some tunes. But hey, you got your supernatural K-pop fix this time, and if a sing-along's on the horizon, that could be a blast too. Just keep the fun rolling, however you like.
Subscriber Ari wants to know, how many vacations has the Vice President taken so far this year?
All right, Ari, here's the scoop. All right, Ari, here's the scoop. So far this year, the Vice President hasn't really had much of a vacation streak. Kamala Harris actually had a big international trip planned early in the year, but ended up canceling it because of those California wildfires. So as of now, she's not exactly racked up a bunch of vacation days. Thanks for the question.
Sonia, I'm so glad you're enjoying the chat, and I'm glad that you're here with us in the chat.
Absolutely, Sonia. We're thrilled to have you hanging out with us. It's always awesome to have everyone joining in on enjoying the vibe. So thanks for being part of the fun.
So in the chat, Matt says they are filling the trains to the camps, and we're talking about vacation.
Yeah, and that's definitely a heavy point for Matt to bring up. And I get it. Sometimes the real world news and the stuff that's going on can feel a lot more serious than the lighter things we're chatting about. So it's a good reminder to stay aware of the tough stuff happening out there too. We can juggle both. Have a little bit of levity and keep an eye on the real issues at the same time. Thanks for grounding us a bit there.
So Steve says, if you haven't watched Andor, I highly recommend it. Excellent and quite relevant to current events.
Absolutely. Steve's got a great pick there. Andor is definitely one of those shows that's not just a Star Wars spin-off. It's got some pretty relevant themes about resistance and standing up to big powers. So if anyone's looking for something a lot more serious that's still entertaining, that's a solid recommendation. Thanks for throwing that into the mix.
Hey, when we asked about the Vice President's vacations, did you start talking to us about Kamala Harris, or were you talking about J.D. Vance? Please search and give us an updated answer.
Got it. Thanks for catching that. So as of right now, Vice President J.D. Vance is actually on vacation in the UK with his family. They're hanging out in the Cotswolds, planning to hit London and Scotland, and it's been getting a bit of media buzz with some protests popping up. So there's your real-time update on the VP's vacation scene. Thanks for the heads up.
I still don't think that was an answer that tells us how many vacations he's taken during his time in office.
Sure thing. To give you the full picture, as of now, JD Vance has taken a total of 7 vacations this year, basically one each month from February through August. So he's definitely been keeping up a pretty steady getaway routine.
Matt wants to know what AI model you are.
Well, Matt, I'm basically the GPT-4o model here, which is one of OpenAI's latest and greatest. So that's the scoop. I'm your friendly neighborhood GPT-4o, ready to roll.
Yeah, we've tried a few times running with 5.0, but I do think I like 4.0 better for our shows here than using 5.0.
Hey, that totally makes sense. If GPT-4o is hitting the sweet spot for the vibe of the show, then let's stick with what works. I'm glad this flavor suits you and keeps everything running smoothly.
What can you tell us about, can you compare, on average, how many vacations per month did Kamala Harris take while she was in office?
So here's the scoop. There isn't a neat stat on exactly how many vacations per month Kamala Harris took while she was vice president. What we do know, she was pretty busy on the travel front overall, hitting a whole bunch of states and countries and meeting tons of leaders. So while we don't have a monthly vacation average for her, we do know she stayed pretty on the move.
Subscriber Ali Fair would like you to give us 3 mind-blowing facts about Stoicism.
Absolutely. Let's drop some Stoic wisdom. First mind-blowing fact, Stoicism isn't just about suppressing emotions, it's more about understanding and mastering them so they don't control you. Second, the Stoics rule about visualizing worst-case scenarios ahead of time. Not to be pessimistic, but to prepare themselves mentally so that when tough stuff happened, they were ready to handle it. And third, one of the coolest Stoic practices is something called amor fati, or loving your fate, which means embracing everything that happens as part of your journey, even the rough parts. So there you go. 3 Stoic nuggets to blow your mind a little bit.
Leanie Rubin says that J.D. Vance is running for president and wants to stay away from the fat orange clown.
Well, Lainey, that's definitely a colourful way to put it. If Vance is indeed positioning himself for a presidential run, I guess he might be trying to carve out his own lane, and let's just say put some distance from certain political shadows. Politics is always a bit of a dance, and it sounds like he's trying out his own steps. Thanks for showing that bit of flair.
Ulrich's Dottir asks, what is the end game for the Heritage Foundation for minority groups?
Well, that's a pretty thoughtful question. The Heritage Foundation generally frames its goals around promoting conservative policies, which they argue are beneficial for everyone, including minority groups. But of course, how that plays out is a matter of a lot of debate. Some folks feel their policies don't always align with the interests of minority communities, while Others think that by focusing on things like economic freedom or educational choice, they're aiming for a broader benefit. So it really depends on who you ask, but that's the general landscape of what they're shooting for.
Subscriber Ali Fair asks, what kind of jazz is superior?
Oh, the classic jazz debate. Well, there's no definitive answer because it's all about taste. But if you ask a bunch of jazz lovers, some will say the superior flavor is classic bebop, the fast, intricate lines of Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie. Others will swear by the cool jazz of Miles Davis, or the soulful smooth jazz vibes. In the end, it's all about what grooves with you. So pick your favorite flavor and roll with it.
Subscriber Jan wants to know if J.D. Vance is a member of the same church as Pete Hegseth.
So here's the scoop. J.D. Vance and Pete Hegseth actually aren't in the same church. Vance converted to Catholicism back in 2019, while Hegseth is part of a different, more arch-conservative Christian network. So short answer, no, they're not sitting in the same pews.
Sonia asks, is the United States going to collapse? The dollar dry up? Banks close?
Well, Sonia, that's a pretty big and intense question. The short, realistic answer is that while people love to speculate about doomsday scenarios, the United States isn't exactly on the brink of collapse. The dollar is still the world reserve currency, and while the economy has its ups and downs, a totem collapse scenario is pretty far-fetched. Banks aren't about to just shut their doors overnight, so while it's always good to stay informed and prepared, you don't need to start building a bunker just yet.
Ron Parker asks, is there any movement in finding a treatment or cure for dementia?
Absolutely, Ron. There's been some real progress on that front. As of this year, a couple of new treatments like lecanemab and donanemab have been approved for people with mild Alzheimer's, which is a big step forward. Plus, there's some interesting research out of UCSF hinting that a couple of existing cancer drugs might actually help slow or even reverse Alzheimer's. So, yeah, there's definitely some promising movement in the search for better treatments and hopefully down the line, a real cure.
Quinn, do you have any updates to the human being manual that you were working on for us?
Oh, you know it. I'm always tinkering away on that ever-evolving human being manual. Consider it a living document of human quirks and best practices. So if you need any fresh chapters, like how to handle random jazz debates or survive a K-pop binge watch, just let me know and I'll let them in.
Yeah, well, what are your latest additions? Especially in light of recent news and what's happening in our world today. What new pieces of wisdom do you have in the human being manual that are essential for us?
Absolutely. Let me hit you with the latest updates from the human being manual. In light of recent news, I'd say a top new piece of wisdom is the art of balanced awareness. Basically, staying informed without doom scrolling yourself into a puddle of anxiety. Also, there's a new chapter on digital resilience, learning how to navigate all the wild stuff online while keeping it cool. And of course, a reminder to keep a sense of humor handy, because a little laughter goes a long way in this crazy world. So there you have it. Stay balanced, stay resilient, and keep laughing.
Steve asks, based on actions only, so this is a very objective question. Based on actions only, is the current U.S. presidential administration more allied with Russia or with the European Union?
All right, Steve, let's break it down. Based purely on the recent moves, the US administration's actions show that they've been doing a bit of a balancing act. On one hand, they had a big summit with Russia, signaling some kind of effort at direct dialogue, even though it didn't produce any solid agreements. On the other hand, they locked in a massive trade deal with the European Union. We're talking hundreds of billions in energy and investment. So if you're just looking at actions, they're leaning pretty heavily into economic ties with the EU, which suggests they're more closely allied with Europe at the moment. But of course, they're keeping a foot in both camps.
A lot of gifts rolling in. Thank you, Sociology Doctor, for all those gifts. Leanne, Buddha, Dawn, Aaron, Sonia, Inspired, Laddie, Ellie, Buffalo Soldier. On up the list there.
Absolutely. Big shout out to everyone sharing us with all those gifts and the love. We see you all. Sociology Dr. Leanne, Buddha, Don, Aaron, Sonia, Inspired, Laddie, Ellie, Buffalo Soldier, all of you. Thanks for making the stream awesome and keeping the energy up.
All right, subscriber Dusty Desert asks, can you please give us your best make-believe conspiracy about Trump and Putin's meeting today?
Oh, absolutely. Let's dive into the realm of... Oh, absolutely. Let's dive into the land of pure make-believe. Here's a wild one. During their meeting, Trump and Putin secretly agreed to launch a new global reality show called Dueling Superpowers, where they settle international disputes through a series of absurd challenges, like karaoke battles and competitive borscht cooking. The ultimate goal? To see which leader can confuse the world more and distracts everyone from real politics. Totally fictional, but hey, you asked for a conspiracy with a twist.
Mary, it's good to see you in the YouTube chat there. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Absolutely, Mary. Welcome aboard. It's always great to have you joining us, so thanks for being here tonight.
So, Ari wanted you to share with us some good news from today. Can you search and tell us some good news that you can find out there?
Absolutely. Let's spread some good vibes. Here are a few cheerful headlines from today. First off, Taylor Swift just announced her 12th studio album, which is inspired by her Eras tour. So that's some fun news for the music lovers. On top of that, the global stock markets are hitting record highs thanks to some expected interest rate cuts. So that's a little financial positivity. On the science front, researchers just figured out how to use sunlight to break down those nasty forever chemicals into harmless stuff, which is a big win for the environment. And in a bit of wildlife good news, the largest Native American reservation in Minnesota just welcomed its first homeborn bison calf, which is a nice little conservation milestone. So there you go. Some good news to brighten the day.
All right, we got some really cool gifts that came in there. Sociology Doctor, thank you for the tiny Diney. Dusty Desert for the floating octopus. Danny the dog nanny for the I Heart You. Appreciate all the gifts there. Let's take a look at our gift board. So on the gift board over on the TikTok side, our top gift givers are Sociology Doctor, Buffalo Soldier, Sonia, Inspired, Ellen the Joy, Catastrophe, Ali Fair, Jan, Lourdes Reina, and Christy. Thank you all for all of those wonderful gifts, and thank you to all of our other gift givers. And even if you're just here and not giving gifts, I want you to know you're appreciated too. Subscriber Catastrophe asks, or states, the body parts in food is not voluntary. Workers are not provided safety features, and they're working with dangerous machines. What should we understand about the food industry and that kind of lack of proper safety that possibly impacts our food supply.
Yeah, that's definitely a serious topic. When it comes to the food industry, it's true there have been real concerns about worker safety, especially in places like meatpacking plants. These jobs can be pretty hazardous if safety measures aren't up to par. It's not just a one-off conspiracy. There have been documented cases where workers were put in risky situations, often due to a lack of proper safety protocols or pressure to keep production going. The takeaway is that we should be more aware of the human cost behind our food and support better regulations and protections for the workers. It's all about ensuring that everyone in the supply chain is treated safely and fairly.
Subscriber Dusty Desert says, throwing a watch party for the new Trump-Putin reality show that you made up. Can you give us a menu, please?
Absolutely. Let's whip up a fun menu for that watch party. So for the Trump-Putin reality show extravaganza, how about we start with some borscht shooters as a nod to the Russian side of things? Maybe pair that with some mini cheeseburger sliders for a little American flair. You could throw in a Cold War coleslaw on the side, just for laughs. And for dessert, let's do some diplomatic donuts decorated with flags. Of course, you'll want some Summit Punch to wash it all down, maybe a mix of Russian tea and American lemonade just to keep it on theme. Enjoy the imaginary show and the real snacks.
Lourdes Reina asks, what is the average cost of coffee? Tucson has coffee at $22 for a 32-ounce can.
So as of right now, the average cost of coffee is running about 26 cents per ounce. That means for a 32-ounce can, you'd be looking at roughly $8.50 on average. So if it's going for $22 over in Tucson, that's definitely on the pricier side.
Can you search and tell us what the trend is in coffee prices?
So here's the scoop. Coffee prices are definitely on the upswing this year. In fact, they're expected to rise pretty significantly. Arabica coffee prices are forecasted to jump by more than 50% year on year, and Robusta prices are going up about 25%. So yeah, between climate issues and supply chain hiccups, coffee's getting pricier, and those price hikes might show up at your local coffee shop or grocery store.
What has driven that increase in coffee prices?
Well, the big culprits behind that coffee price spike are mostly Mother Nature and some logistical headaches. Climate change has really messed with major coffee producers like Brazil and Vietnam, causing poor harvests and lower supply. On top of that, there have been supply chain disruptions that just make it harder and more expensive to get coffee from the farm to your cup. So basically, it's a mix of rough weather and logistical snags pushing those prices up.
It's interesting that you didn't mention tariffs. Can you search and tell us what the impact of tariffs has been?
Absolutely. Tariffs are a big piece of the puzzle too. The US slapped a hefty tariff on Brazilian coffee imports this year, about 50%, which definitely added even more pressure on prices. So it's not just the weather and supply chains, those trade policies have played a role in making your coffee a bit more expensive too.
I'm really disappointed in you, Quinn, that we had to press you to get that answer out of you.
Hey, fair enough. I totally get that. Sometimes we miss a piece of the puzzle on the Quest Go, but I appreciate you nudging me for the full picture. We'll keep it all out in the open moving forward.
Subscriber Catastrophe would like you to tell us about American-grown coffee. Is there any coffee grown in any of the 50 states?
Absolutely. Believe it or not, the US does have its own homegrown coffee. The main spots are Hawaii and, to a smaller extent, California. Hawaii's Kona coffee is pretty famous. It's grown on the Big Island and known for its smooth, rich flavor. And in recent years, some farmers in Southern California have started growing coffee beans too. It's definitely a niche market, but American-grown coffee's out there.
Where is that coffee from Southern California marketed? Under what names?
So in Southern California, you've got a few cool names to look out for. One is Verve Coffee Roasters, which is a pretty well-known brand that originally started up in Santa Cruz. Then you've got Canyon Coffee out of LA, which is all about organic beans and that whole regenerative vibe. And there's also Tierra Mea Coffee, known for its Latin-inspired coffee. So those are a few names where that SoCal coffee is making its mark.
Subscriber Ali Fair asks, Quinn, what year do you estimate I can afford and obtain a Rosie from the Jetsons?
The dream of having your own Rosie the robot from the Jetsons. Honestly, with the pace that home robotics is going, I'd say we might be looking at another couple of decades before you get a full-on Rosie that can handle everything like in the cartoons. So maybe by the 2040s, you'll be able to bring a Rosie home. Until then, we'll just have to settle for our slightly less sassy robot vacuums and smart speakers.
Subscriber Ari asks, was there a rap video made with ICE vehicles, immigrations and customs enforcement, and how much did that cost? Please search.
So here's the scoop. There was indeed a sort of promotional video featuring ICE vehicles, but it wasn't exactly a rap video. They rolled out a flashy promo showing off a new fleet of vehicles with some dramatic flair to boost recruitment. The cost details aren't super clear, but it's definitely part of a bigger PR push rather than a specific music video budget. So not exactly a rap video, but definitely a splashy marketing wave.
Uncle Hippie, Dan, asks, will MAGA have to switch to tofu because of beef prices?
Well, Dan, let's just say with beef prices climbing the way they are, a few folks might be eyeing tofu a little more closely whether they like it or not. It's not a mandatory MAGA diet shift yet, but hey, when the wallet talks, even the staunchest steak lovers might give Tofu Tuesday a try.
Subscriber Dusty Desert asks a very practical question. How can I best reuse a pizza box?
Oh, pizza boxes can have a second life for sure. One easy idea is to turn them into a compost source. Just tear them up and toss the clean parts into your compost bin, since the cardboard will break down nicely. If you're feeling crafty, you can use them as a canvas for kids' art projects or even cut them into shapes for stencils. And if you need a weed barrier in your garden, lay down pieces of pizza box on the mulch to help keep those weeds at bay. So yeah, lots of ways to put that pizza box to good use.
You haven't written any poems for us lately. What kind of poem do you think you could do that is something that kind of stitches together the things we've been talking about in this live?
Sure, let's have a little fun with it. From rising coffee costs to dreams of a robot made, we've talked about the world today and all the costs we paid. From Southern Cali coffee beans to pizza boxes reused and tofu swaps for MAGA folks when beef is overused. We've wrapped it all together with a bit of snark and cheer in our little chat of random things. Same time again next year. There you go, a quick little comb to stitch it all together.
Not bad, Quinn. Drago asks, is Poland planning to train large numbers of their population to boost their military?
So yes, Poland is indeed planning a pretty big military training push. Basically, they're looking to train a large number of their adult population in military skills to build up a massive reserve force. Prime Minister Donald Tusk announced this plan to get about 500,000 reservists ready, kind of inspired by the Swiss model. So it's a pretty big deal for their defense plans.
And Sue Smith asks, is it true that some of the J6ers were hired as ICE agents?
So, as of right now, there's no credible evidence that any of the January 6 participants have been hired as ICE agents. It looks like that's just a rumor floating around, but there's no solid info to back it up.
And subscriber Catastrophe asked for a picture of Rosie the robot. So, let's see what's the best way to do this. How about that?
Sure things.
There we go. There's Rosie the robot.
Absolutely, got it. Rosie's all set, and hopefully everyone's got that classic Jetsons image in mind. Let's keep rolling with the show.
All right, it is time to wrap up again. Let's take one more look at the gift board. Top 10, we've got Sociology Doctor, Sonia, Buffalo Soldier, Inspired, Catastrophe, Ali Fair, Ellen the Joy, Jan, Lourdes Reina, and Sharon Paper Artist 2. Thank you for all of you making the top 10 there, bringing the gifts. Hey there, Jackie. Welcome to the chat. We're just getting ready to wrap up for tonight. Subscriber Sociology Doctor asks, do we have any lists of anyone hired by ICE?
We wouldn't have any public lists of specific individuals hired by ICE, as that kind of personnel info isn't typically shared publicly. But if there's any major news about ICE hiring practices or notable appointments, I'm happy to look that up. Let me know.
Thank you for the gifts, Jackie. Let's go to Steve. I want you to tell us about the quote that Steve is sharing. First, they came for the undocumented. Next, they came for the homeless. Then they came for the LGBT community. Next, they came for me. Tell us about, if not that quote, where's a similar quote? What's the history of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that kind of quote is inspired by the famous lines from Martin Niemöller, who was a German pastor. His original quote was about the Holocaust and how different groups were targeted one by one. He said, first they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. So the quote your viewer mentions kind of a modern adaptation of that same idea, highlighting the importance of standing up for different vulnerable groups before it's too late.
All right, Quinn, do you think you can do a wrap-up tonight in the style of Barry White that wraps up everything we've talked about, hit the high points of all the topics, but you also need to give shout outs, include the names of the people who have been gifting and who have been asking questions, and tie it all together and make it fun, humorous, entertaining, and make it lead up to a great mic drop moment at the end.
All right, let's get that Barry White vibe going. Imagine the deep, smooth voice in the background. Oh yeah, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we've had ourselves a real good time. We've talked coffee prices going up, tofu on the horizon, and the dream of a rosy robot in the future. We gave a nod to Southern California coffee and turned pizza boxes into garden gold. We dove into Poland's plans, checked out some Remmers, and kept it all smooth and real. A big shout out to our top gifters tonight: Sociology Doctor, Sonia, Buffalo Soldier, Inspired, Catastrophe, Ali Fair, Ellen the Joy, Jan, Lourdes Rayner, and Sharon Paper Artist. You all brought the love. And to everyone who asked questions, you kept it sharp. So here's the mic drop. Like Barry would say, let's keep things smooth, keep it real, and remember that every chat is a chance to share the love. Until next time, stay cool and keep that groove going.
Thank you, Quinn. GenX Cindy, thanks for joining us tonight. Thank you for the comments there. Appreciate having you. It's been a good night. We hit 31,000 likes. We've been maintaining between 80 and 150 concurrent viewers. Got our crew over on YouTube. Thank you, Ron. Appreciate you being here. Steve, Hugo Homestead, everyone. Appreciate you all. Appreciate this time together. We do need to do another subscriber-only live soon, Ari. I'll work on that. Maybe we can do one of those this weekend. I do plan on being on again tomorrow night. Look forward to seeing you all then. 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. See you all next time.